Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining me for another exciting episode of Ladies, Get Your Prance On. I'm your host, Lisa Lamont, and I will bring entrepreneurs, thought leaders from all around the world that I have come to grow and love and care about. And my guest today, her name is Nikki Rausch, and she grew up in Boise, Idaho. I don't know if you've ever been to Idaho, but it's a lovely state. And she was the second of 4 children, and she was very, very painfully shy growing up, and she found her outlet in dance. In fact, she got a scholarship to go to college in dance, and that was her way of being seen without having to be heard. And so we're going to be talking about that with Nikki today. So Nikki, thank you and welcome for joining me.
Thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
I am so excited. So I want to jump right in because you're known as the sales maven. And I found it really interesting when I was talking to you earlier, learning in your bio that you were quite shy growing up. And so how did you end up evolving from this quiet, shy girl to this sales maven who's seen everywhere on stage?
Well, you mentioned dance. That was one way that I got comfortable, being in front of an audience and having eyes on me, which felt overwhelming. I mean, in high school, I was the girl who would stay home sick if I had to get up and present that day. Or in college, just to get through college, I would do absolutely anything I had to do just to get through having to get up and stand in front of a room. And my voice would shake and my eyes would tear up, and it was so terrifying. So dance really helped with that, like putting me in front of groups. And then as I started into my sales career, what happened was I started having to demo product. Like I'd have to do product demonstrations. And it was easier then because it wasn't about me. It wasn't like people were looking at me, even though they were. Yeah. It felt like, oh, they're looking at this product over here. And so it kind of took the tension off of me. And I think after years and years and years of doing that, I just got more and more comfortable being in the front of the room. And really, it's like digging deep and having to, it's almost like I always think about how Beyonce says that she like puts on her Sasha Fierce personality. Yeah. In a way, there's a little bit of like stepping into it for me that feels like, okay, I know that I'm on right now. So I've got to push through that feeling of being shy and just be me and do my best, because it really, when you're talking in front of people, when you're presenting, when you're speaking, I always say it's really not about me, and it's really about the audience. And so when I think about it in those terms, it's about the other person. Yeah. It takes some of the pressure off.
Some of the pressure. I just started speaking in the last, year. I've really been out there speaking a lot, and it's still there. I mean, you still have the little pitter patter, and you do in the bathroom mirror, do your little Wonder Woman pose and things like that. There's still all those behind the scenes, those little nerves that you have to work out. And so we still have them even to this day.
Yes. And I do some stuff in the mirror, and, I do mirror love every morning, thanks to you. And I also have something that I do to manage my internal state, which again it reminds me that this is a moment in time. And for this moment in time, I'm going to be the best I can be. And then when I come off stage or when I'm done, it's like, I can let my hair down, and now I can kind of step back a little bit.
I love it. Well, today we're going to be talking about buying signals, because a lot of the followers of my show happen to be entrepreneurs. And one of the things that I get over and over is that I hate selling myself. Like, I love my business. I love what I'm doing. I love my product. I love my service, but I have trouble selling myself to other people. And so what is the most common challenge that you find with your clients in sales?
I think the most common challenge is people don't know when or how to ask for the sale. I find that people are so afraid of coming off salesy or coming off pushy or aggressive that they hold themselves back, and they keep themselves from doing anything. And one of the things I hear a lot is people say, well, if people want to work with me, they'll let me know. And I want to challenge that in people's minds, because in actuality, one of the easiest ways for people to decide if they want to work with you or not, or even bring it into their awareness, is to invite them to work with you. And so buying signals has absolutely become the heartbeat of my brand. It's the number one thing that I teach, because when you're on the lookout for buying signals, it's easy then to know, what do you say when you get it? Because that's the opportunity to invite someone to do business or ask for the sale.
Well, and what I love about how you do business is that you make teaching buying fun. And in fact, when you go and you speak to groups of people, you pass something out to your guests. And can you explain a little bit about that?
So I'll tell you how it came about. Was people will say, like, Nikki, I get the concept of the buying signal. I know I'm supposed to be on the lookout for them, but I get in the meeting or I get in the networking and I forget. And I always say, you have to be turned on and tuned in. You have to be really present. And so I started giving people antennas, buying signal antennas.
And I have
to remind them, that's right, to remind them. Now, whether they wear these to their meetings or not, but it's to remind people, you've got to ask. Because if you don't ask, I guarantee you are missing out on the opportunity to work with some of your ideal clients, because they haven't decided to work with you because you haven't asked them. So get your antennas, get your buying signal antennas turned on and tuned in, and you will find it's fun, right? It's supposed to be fun. And it's just it's a little reminder for my clients.
And people don't think of buying as something fun, the buying signals, looking for the buying signals. And in fact, when I worked with you, because I've taken one of your courses in the past, and we're going to be talking later on in the show about your upcoming course. But one of the things that I learned in your course was I had a lot of those ding ding moments when you shared that all these opportunities that have presented, over the years of doing business, that I completely missed the buying signal. Like, I had no idea that they were wanting to do business, that I didn't invite them. Can you give an example or two?
Sure. I'll give you first and foremost, this is the most missed buying signal. And I teach this everywhere I speak, and it's in my books. I mean, this is like the one that if you start being on the lookout for this, you'll find it's so much easier to move to the next step with people. And it's when people come up to you and they make a positive comment about your product or service, something about your business. It's the opportune time to invite them to do business. So here's an example. I like to share a story of a woman. I was at a networking meeting, and I was standing and I was having a conversation with somebody, and I saw kind of out of the peripheral of my vision, I saw a woman kind of making her way around these tables. It was a big room. There were 100 women in there, all these big tables. And I saw her kind of making her way around these tables, and she was headed in my direction, and she was looking at me. And she came up and she said, "Are you Nikki Rausch?" And I said, "I am." And she said, "My friend Erin went through your class, and she just raves about you and raves about what she learned." Now, that's a really beautiful compliment, and I'm so honored that she would go out of her way. I could just say thank you, but instead, here's what I did. I said, "Thank you. I so appreciate that. Now, is there something I might be able to help you with?" And this is what she did. She went like this. She went, "Maybe."
How do you do that?
And I know, with my antennas on. She said, "Maybe." And I said, "Oh, well, I carry my calendar right here on my phone. What do you think if we just pulled up a time and scheduled a time to chat?" Because you got to do it in the moment. That's when they're the heat of the interest, right? Or the peak of the interest. And so we set up a time to chat, and over the course of the next couple months, getting to know each other, she became one of my private VIP clients, and she's thrilled about working with me. Now, she did not come over initially with the idea of like, I want to buy from Nikki.
Yeah.
But because she came over, she said something complimentary about my product or about my service. Then I invited her to the next step, and she said yes. And now I get to work with her. She's an ideal client for me.
Why do you find that people are afraid to ask?
Well, I think for the most part is we've all heard the horror stories, or we've been on the receiving end of a really aggressive, pushy salesperson that's like all up in your business, all up in your face, like buy for me. And you feel that like, oh, and it feels schmarmy. It feels yucky. And so nobody wants to do that. I mean, I certainly would never want to give somebody the impression that I'm schmarmy or that I'm more interested in their money than I am in helping them or being of service. And so I think it's this idea that people are so afraid of being pushy and they're not quite sure how to ask. So that's one of the things I work with clients on is the language piece. How do you do it in a way that makes it really simple? It makes it really easy. And if it turns out it's not a buying signal and they say no, it's easy to then transition into another part of the conversation without it feeling awkward and uncomfortable. So one of the things I like to give the idea is I always say, if you hold your palm out and maybe just one, and you imagine that whatever you sell, your product, your service is right here in the palm of your hand. Yeah. All you're doing is offering it to somebody. And if they take it, great. Now, I don't mean like forcing it. I don't mean like pushing it into their face, right? Like it's too much then. But if you just hold it right here and you just make the offer, and if they say yes and they take it, great. And if they say no and they don't take it, then you just put it down. It's okay. It's easy.
I think our egos are connected to the outcome too. Like They don't like me if they don't want to work with me, they don't like me, and we take it personally. But sometimes people just need time just to get to know you. In my business, I'm an intuitive. I read cards. I'm a hypnotherapist. Those are two really, considered, woo-woo spiritual tools that I use. And so I'm not going to just walk up to someone and go, hey, shake their hand and, let me tell you about your future. Let me tell you what's blocking you. People would run. They'd be absolutely terrified. So it's getting to know them so they can get to know who I am as a person to do down the road. And I might not be the right fit for them, but you know what? They might be a really good friend and a great referral for me. So for example, if I meet someone that's a graphic artist and they may never do business with me, but I got to know them, they're nice, I love their style of work, I'm going to refer them. We're all great connectors in this universe. We're all great connectors.
The other thing I might add, and I think you might like this, Lisa, this is a new thing that I've started teaching when I speak, is this idea of, create a little curiosity about what you do. And how I explain curiosity, I'm not sure if you've ever heard me talk about this or not, but I think you'll like it when I get there, is I think creating curiosity is the difference between how you call a dog and how you call a cat. And so bear with me here as I explain this. But when you call a dog, there's that little bit like, come here, boy, come here, boy. And you get that frantic energy, and dogs really respond to that. And sometimes when people go into a room, they're so excited about their product or service, they come off with that frantic energy. Yeah. And as people, we don't like that. No. It's too much. We see those people come in, we go the other way. And instead I say, think about it like you're calling a cat. You know how you call a cat? You say, here, kitty, kitty. Here, kitty, kitty. And the cat goes like, ooh, what? What's going on? Like, I want to know more. And so when you think about when you're out talking about your product or your service, think about how can you create a little curiosity? How can you draw people to you? Because the other thing I always say is if you're chasing your clients, if you're chasing after people constantly, it's because they're running away.
Ooh.
Yeah. So we want to draw people to us. We want to do a little here, kitty, kitty. And people respond to that. They love that. Like, ooh, what do you got? Tell me more. Show me more.
And it's true. It is about curiosity too. Even with what I do, and when people talk to me, they are curious. There's a little bit, and they'll tell me later, like, I'm afraid to have a reading because you might see bad things. And I'm like, it's about making that conversation and educating people. What other? We have time to share one more tip before we talk about your upcoming workshop that you have.
Okay. Well, I want to share with you one of the tips that I give on how to create curiosity, because some people are like, I don't know how to do that. And I want to say there's a lot of opportunities. And one tip in particular is when people ask you this very common question, And the question is, how are you? You know, you might say like, oh, I'm fine, or I'm fantastic. You might have your standard answer. And I want to challenge everybody out there to think of, how can you really answer that question in a way that draws this little here kitty kitty? So instead of saying I'm fine, you might say, you know, I'm fantastic. I'm so excited. I'm just about to be on Lisa Lamont's show this week. And people might go like, what are you talking about on Lisa? What's Lisa Lamont's show? You know, and it draws people to you, and it opens the door for conversation. You know, if you say fine, there's no opening to the door. But if you say, oh, I'm excited this week because I get to go on this brand new show with this relaunch by a woman who I admire so much, like the door opens.
Yeah.
And now it gives me opportunity to talk about what am I doing.
That's a great suggestion. That's a great suggestion. What has been your biggest challenge that you have found with your clients besides being able to ask for the sale? Is there another challenge that you would like to share?
I think the other challenge is that people think they have to, I think people try to think about sales and like you either have sales skills or you don't. You've got the charisma or you don't. And you know, one of the things I really focus on, and specifically with each one of my clients, is I'm not going to teach you how to sell like me, because that's not going to work. We want to work with people who are authentic. So what is so important is using what is it about your personality that makes you unique and special. Now, I'm going to offer you some little tweaks, some language ideas, some little places for you to be more effective. But ultimately, every single person, whether they think they've got it or not, when you show up and you be your authentic self, you absolutely can close more business. So it's not about being the perfect salesperson or having the 22 years of experience. It's not that. It's be authentic, be real. You will draw people to you.
You mentioned when I talked to you earlier in your bio that you grew up, you were painfully shy. Do you have a system or a program with those that might be watching that are introverts? There's the extroverts that you work with to help them get the right language, because extroverts can put people off too. They can be in your face, but you also have the other side, which is the introverts, and they might be the type that stay back. They go to a networking event, and they just sit, and then they get up and they leave again. Do you work with introverts also?
I do. I think if you went and looked at all my especially my private clients, if you looked at all my private clients, I would say the ratio is probably, I would say 60 to 70% introverts versus extroverts. And again, it's because I really focus on what are the things that make each individual unique, and how can we use those uniqueness that what makes you unique. How can we use that to be more effective, to sell your product, to make it easy for people to want to work with you? And there was one woman in particular, I remember when we worked together, she never even wanted to be on camera with me because she felt so shy. And she said, I'm really awkward, and I'm kind of like, I get in groups and I get uncomfortable. And I remember me sharing with her ways to use that awkwardness to allow for people to see it as charming. And so it was really fun. And, her business is just booming. She's amazing. So I love that, working with those people who feel shy, that want to step back, because I can relate. Believe me, I can relate.
It's one thing I want to share. A lot of people on social media are talking about intuition. We all have intuition, and one of the things, and the reason why I wanted to have you on the show is that your intuition, your little intuition antennas, are really up there. And I really think that that's one of your strengths, and working with people, is that you're able to ask questions that tune in. When I worked with you, you were able to ask me questions. It was like, how did you know that? You were able, and you're very kind and you're very soft, but you say things in a way that make me realize it's going to be okay. And like the little ding ding, like when you did this workshop with Joey and I, we did a workshop together, and you brought out the little ding ding, and I'm just like, And all the time when I think of you, I think of Ding Ding, because it's a reminder that we do have these buying signals out there and people do want to do business, but it takes understanding how to do it. You have a formula. So with that said, can you share with the people that are watching about an upcoming webinar that you have?
Sure. Thank you for the opportunity. And I want to say, Lisa, being with you and all of the, you are my intuitive, you are my go-to. So just want to thank you for all that you have shared. And thank you for that compliment. I appreciate it so much. So coming up is, I do teach a 5-week webinar series class. It's called Savvy Selling, and there are 5 modules. It's 1 hour a week for 5 weeks. The one that's coming up right now starts on September 19th, and it goes through October 17th. So it's every Monday from 9 to 10, and we get on a Zoom, and you can see me, and I can see those who turn their cameras on. And if you don't want to have your camera on, I respect that too. But you'll get to see the other participants in the class. And this is a way for you to learn in really bite-sized pieces ways to be more effective in your business and in the selling process. So Savvy Selling is what's coming up. I'm really excited. And we already have just a stellar group of amazing business professionals from every kind of business that you can imagine. So it'll be fun.
And I want to add too that if people are watching this afterwards, after it's over with and down the road, you always have ongoing programs. So how can people find you and reach out to you to learn more about this program and connecting with you?
The easiest way would be to go to my website, which is yoursalesmaven.com. So your and then sales and then Maven, MAVEN.com. And there's information there, and there's a place to contact me there. And of course, you can find me on social media. I'm on Facebook, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Twitter, under Your Sales Maven or Nikki Rausch, either way.
And how do you spell your last name for those that are going to contact you that way?
It's RAUSCH.
And that's NIKKI too. So,
it is.
So I am so delighted to have you, Nikki, today. It has just been a pleasure to kick off this series with you. Your schedule's like incredibly busy, so to have you here has just been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And everybody, thank you for joining us today. We will be back next Monday at 1 p.m. Pacific time. Until then, have a wonderful week. Thank you.